Deep in the heart of Italy lies a watery abyss unlike any other. Nestled in the picturesque town of Montegrotto Terme, this marvel of engineering and imagination beckons adventurers and thrill-seekers from around the world. Y40 Deep Joy, they call it. A name that resonates with the promise of exhilaration and the joy of discovery. A name that hints at adventure, at the thrill of the unknown. Divers meticulously prepare, checking their equipment, ensuring every detail is perfect before they take the plunge. This isn't your average swimming hole. It's a place where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, where the surface world fades away, and a new realm of aquatic wonder begins. This is the world's deepest pool, a sunken giant filled with over 4 million gallons of warm, inviting water. The pool's crystal-clear waters offer a serene yet exhilarating environment for divers of all levels. It plunges down, down, down to a staggering depth of 131 feet. As divers descend, they enter a world of silence and tranquility, where the only sound is the rhythmic bubbling of their breath. That's the height of a 13-story building. Imagine standing at the top of such a structure and looking down. Now imagine diving to that depth, surrounded by water. Divers flock from every corner of the globe to experience its depths. They come not just for the thrill, but for the unique training opportunities it offers, from beginners to seasoned professionals. They come to explore its underwater caves, to test their limits in its simulated abyss. These features provide a controlled yet challenging environment, perfect for honing diving skills and exploring the unknown. But for some, the allure of the deep can turn deadly. The pool's depths, while inviting, can also be treacherous. It serves as a stark reminder of the power and unpredictability of the underwater world. The air hung heavy with chlorine and anticipation. Sunlight streamed through the glass walls of the Y40 complex. It painted dancing patterns on the surface of the pool. The water, a deep hypnotic blue, beckoned with its promise of adventure. Around the edges, divers adjusted their gear, their voices hushed in respect for the giant that awaited them. The atmosphere crackled with nervous energy, but for one man, there was only excitement. He stood tall, his body lean and muscled, his eyes reflecting the azure depths below. This was his element. Water was his second home. He checked his equipment one last time, a ritual he'd performed countless times before. His heart thrummed with a familiar excitement. With a deep breath, he stepped off the platform and plunged into the welcoming embrace of the water. Down he went, the water enveloping him like a cool, liquid silk. He moved with effortless grace, his body a symphony of controlled power. The deeper he went, the more the world above faded away. The sunlight dimmed, replaced by an eerie, almost mystical blue glow. He was entering another world, a world of silence and solitude. He reached the bottom, his feet touching down on the platform that marked the deepest point of the pool. The water was cold, and the silence was almost deafening. He could feel the weight of the water pressing down on him, a reminder of just how far he had descended. The light from above was faint, casting eerie shadows that danced around him. He took a moment to steady his breathing, trying to calm the rapid beating of his heart. A sense of accomplishment washed over him, quickly replaced by a growing unease. He had trained for this, prepared for the depths, but nothing could have prepared him for the overwhelming feeling of isolation. The vast expanse of water around him felt both liberating and confining. He glanced around, the underwater world both beautiful and alien. But something was off, a nagging feeling at the back of his mind that he couldn't shake. He felt a strange pressure in his ears, a tightness in his chest. It was as if the water itself was closing in on him, squeezing the air from his lungs. He tried to equalize the pressure, but the discomfort only grew. His training had taught him to remain calm, to focus on his breathing, but the rising panic was hard to ignore. He could feel his pulse quickening, each beat echoing in his ears. He tried to kick off from the bottom to propel himself back towards the surface. His legs moved, but it felt like he was pushing against an invisible barrier. The water, which had once felt like a supportive embrace, now felt like a heavy shroud, holding him down. He kicked harder, his movements becoming more frantic. The surface seemed so far away, an unreachable goal, but his body refused to respond. He was stuck. It was as if his muscles had turned to lead, each movement slow and labored. He could feel the panic rising, a cold, creeping sensation that threatened to overwhelm him. He tried to calm himself, to focus on his training, but the fear was too strong. He was trapped, and there was no way out. Panic, swift and cold, shot through him. His mind raced, thoughts jumbled and incoherent. He had to get out, had to reach the surface, but his body wouldn't cooperate. The water around him seemed to grow darker, the light from above fading. He could feel his chest tightening, the need for air becoming more urgent. He was running out of time. He thrashed against the water, but it was like trying to fight his way out of quicksand. Every movement seemed to drag him down further, the water pulling him deeper into its depths. His arms and legs felt heavy, each stroke a monumental effort. He could feel the strength draining from his body, the fight becoming harder with each passing second. The water was relentless, an unforgiving force that showed no mercy. The more he struggled, the faster his air supply dwindled. He could see the bubbles escaping from his mouth, rising slowly towards the surface. Each bubble was a reminder of the precious air he was losing. His lungs burned, the need for oxygen becoming unbearable. He tried to conserve his air, to take shallow breaths, but the panic made it impossible. He was suffocating, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. His lungs burned, screaming for air. The pain was intense, a searing agony that consumed him. He could feel his vision starting to blur, the edges darkening, his body was shutting down, the lack of oxygen taking its toll. He clutched at his chest, the desperation clear on his face. He was on the brink of losing consciousness, the world around him fading. The world around him started to fade, the blue water turning into a dizzying kaleidoscope of colors. His mind was slipping, the darkness closing in. He could feel himself drifting, the fight leaving his body. The last thing he saw was the distorted light from above, a distant, unreachable beacon. And then, everything went black. Section 5. A desperate struggle for survival. His heart pounded against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the silence of the deep. He knew he couldn't panic. Panic would only use up precious air. He had to think, to find a way out of this watery tomb. He remembered the safety briefing, the emergency procedures. There was a spare air tank located halfway up the wall of the pool. If he could reach it, he might just have a chance. He gathered the last vestiges of his strength and pushed off the bottom, his body a blur of desperate movement. Up he swam, the pressure in his chest growing with every foot. His vision blurred, his head swam with a dizzying mix of fear and oxygen deprivation. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the smooth tiles of the pool wall, but his hand slipped, his body too weak to hold on. He sank back down, despair threatening to engulf him. His lungs screamed for air, his body cried out for release. The world around him began to fade to black, the vibrant blue of the water replaced by an encroaching darkness. Just when he thought all hope was lost, he saw it, a faint glow shimmering in the distance, the emergency air tank. With the last of his strength, he kicked off the bottom and swam towards it, his body a leaden weight, his movements sluggish and uncoordinated. His fingers closed around the cold metal of the tank, his heart soared with a mixture of relief and triumph. He had never been so happy to see a tank of air in his life. He purged the regulator, took 2 deep, life-giving breaths. The world snapped back into focus, strength flowed back into his limbs. He was going to live. He made his way slowly to the surface, each breath a victory against the grip of death. He emerged from the water, gasping for air, his body trembling with exhaustion and relief. He had cheated death, but the experience had left an indelible mark on his soul. He had looked into the abyss, and the abyss had looked back. As he sat on the edge of the pool, wrapped in a warm towel, he couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. The water droplets still clung to his skin, a reminder of the depths he had just explored. The poolside, a place of safety and comfort, felt worlds apart from the vast, mysterious ocean he had just emerged from. He realized the true depth of his experience wasn't just measured in meters or feet, but in the profound impact it had on his soul. The deep blue of the ocean had shown him a world that was both enchanting and intimidating, a place where every dive was a journey into the unknown. He had learned a valuable lesson that day, one that transcended the physical act of diving. It was a lesson about facing one's fears, about pushing boundaries, and about discovering the strength within oneself. The ocean had become a mirror, reflecting his innermost thoughts and emotions. This lesson was far more profound than any diving manual could teach. Manuals could instruct on techniques and safety protocols, but they couldn't convey the emotional and psychological journey that diving entailed. It was a journey of self-discovery, of understanding one's limits and capabilities. He had learned the true meaning of fear, the kind that grips you in the darkness of the deep, where the unknown lurks just beyond the reach of your flashlight. He had felt the fragility of life, the thin line that separates existence from oblivion, and the overwhelming power of nature. The importance of respecting the power of the deep was now etched into his very being. The ocean, with its powerful waves and hidden trenches, demanded respect and humility. It was a force that could not be tamed, only revered and navigated with caution. He knew that he would never forget his time trapped in the belly of the beast, the moments of panic and the eventual calm that followed. Those experiences had changed him, leaving an indelible mark on his psyche. The underwater caves and ruins he explored were not just physical spaces, but metaphors for the depths of his own mind. But he also knew that he would return to the water, drawn back by its siren song. The call of the ocean was irresistible, a melody that promised adventure and discovery. Each dive was a new chapter in his ongoing story, a chance to learn and grow. The serene underwater views, with sunlight filtering through the water, were moments of pure tranquility. They were a stark contrast to the challenges he faced, yet equally important. These moments reminded him of the beauty that existed alongside the terror, the harmony that could be found in the depths. For the ocean, like life itself, held both beauty and terror in equal measure. The crashing waves and the serene surface were two sides of the same coin, each essential to the ocean's character. The vibrant coral reefs he explored were teeming with life, a testament to the ocean's ability to nurture and sustain. And he, forever changed by his experience, emerged from the water with a new perspective. The intense expression on his face was a reflection of the inner transformation he had undergone. He was no longer just a diver, he was a seeker of truths, a student of the deep. Ready to face both the beauty and the terror that awaited him, he stood at the edge of the water with a determined expression. The ocean was his teacher, and he was eager to continue learning, to dive deeper into its mysteries and uncover the lessons it had yet to reveal.